the Unite the Kingdom March went brilliantly on Saturday, and for everyone that attended, well done. I was a little bit disappointed with the turnout, but overall, I guess I can kind of understand when you have the rhetoric like this coming from Keir Starmer and Sadiq Khan and all the political lefties. I can understand there was a tension in the air. A lot of people actually said to me they can see there being trouble. And I've got to be honest, I'll give the police their due on this one, that the police did a really good job, if I'm honest. I said this last year as well. For 40-odd arrests, and that was between the Unite the Kingdom and the pro-Palestine march. For 40-something arrests, with the amount of people that was there, well over 100,000 people, it was impressive. It was. Well done, guys. I've really got to say, well done. This is what it's about. You see, they were hoping that they could get us causing trouble so they could then say, ha, told you so. Now, next time you have one, we're going to shut it down. That can't happen. But I'm going to play Keir Starmer. I think it was the day before the Unite the Kingdom march.
Tomorrow's march in London is a reminder of what we're up against in the battle of our values. The organisers, including convicted thugs and racists, are peddling hatred and division, plain and simple. Their goal is to convince people that Britain's problems are caused by those living alongside them. But that is not the Britain that I know. This is a country built on decency, fairness and respect. A country that is at its best when people from different backgrounds come together in common purpose. This is our country, with a majority who share those values, a majority who may not always be as loud, but must always define who we are. So, my government will not stand in the way of peaceful protest, but we will act decisively against hatred. We will use the full force of the law when that hatred manifests as violence. And we will ban those coming into the UK who seek to stir it up, as we have done already. Because this country belongs to all of us, and I will not tolerate anyone who seeks to stand in the way of that.
There we are. That was just a full-on attack on the right, the Unite the Kingdom march. Now, we've had the whole rhetoric, the whole thing dominating the headlines for the past couple of weeks since Golders Green, where them poor Jewish people were getting stabbed by an Islamist. Now, from there, we had the rhetoric of the Jewish people, from the anti-Semitism, and this must stop rhetoric. And he even mentioned the protesting with signs and placards and stuff on jumpers with anti-Semitic things and from the river to the sea, the chants. Now, when it come to it, on Saturday, we had two marches. We had the Unite the Kingdom and we had the pro-Palestine lot. Now, Keir Starmer come out and warned against the Unite the Kingdom. I want to see some evidence of the organisers being convicted thugs and racists. At the end of the day, he did this because he was scared. And he is scared. He's really scared. The whole Labour Party is scared. The whole establishment is scared. You see, what people don't realise is when Tommy Robinson and people like Tommy Robinson, like him or hate him, that's up to you. I quite respect Tommy Robinson. I think he's done a fantastic job. And you know what? I have people say to me, well, he's this and that. Yeah, he's rough around the edges. He's a normal everyday bloke. That's what I respect. This is why I like Rupert Lowe, because they are everyday people, not career politicians who do not know how to lie straight in bed. So yeah, he's rough around the edges. He's like me and you. This is what makes him work, because he is like me and you. He is the very representation of me and you. Like it or hate it, that's up to you. When you have polarising figures like Tommy Robinson and the establishment are sitting up and taking notice, you know you've got a political foothold. You've got their attention and they're telling you you're on the radar. You are a threat. If you are a threat to the establishment, then you are doing the right thing. So, like I said, I want to point out, because we did have the pro-Palestine march going on the same day. And I just want to highlight this video here.
elsewhere. Fuck off.
So they've just said that they want to hang Tommy Robinson and shoot him in the neck like Charlie Kirk. It's getting very aggressive.
The pro-Palestine lot want to hang Tommy Robinson and shoot him in the neck, just like Charlie Kirk. A question for Keir Starmer. I've never seen him on the podium condemning this clip at all. I've never seen him on the podium condemning anything that the pro-Palestine lot do, which they are clearly inciting violence. That's somebody's life. Now, Tommy Robinson currently has a fatwa on his head, and he's had a lot of death threats. People have been trying to kill Tommy for a while. So when you have these low IQ personalities, can I also just state as well, in that clip, you will see, I'll play it again.
Should we shoot Tommy?
This right here is something you see quite often. He must be a paid organiser, because we see this in the pro-Palestine marches overall. Someone, whether it's a citizen journalist or a mainstream journalist, will approach someone in the crowd. Now, one of these people, which I'm going to call him a watcher, he seems to push them out the way and tell them not to talk. And these other people just listen. And to me, he is a paid organiser. And you can tell he's got the look. When you look around the crowd of the lefties, they all have that very same look, don't they? They are hateful, spiteful people.
Robinson in the neck. Okay.
Get your clip elsewhere. Fuck off.
Yeah, get your clip elsewhere. Fuck off. Now, there's a stark difference between the pro-Palestine march and the Unite the Kingdom. The Unite the Kingdom march was very, very diverse, if I'm honest. You could see a lot of different coloured faces, including Muslims. The Muslims who do not agree with the Islamic side, the radicals. And you also had women like this.
I'm furious because I'm an ex-military. I was in the RAF for 12 years. I served my country. I'm very proud of my flag. I wear my flag proudly because I was born here in this country, and my parents came over in the 60s and worked hard. They contributed to the economy, and they bought a house and they moved into the suburbs, and it was fantastic. I was born in Whitechapel, yeah, and I wouldn't recognise it now at all. At all. And we moved up to Lincolnshire in the countryside because I'm very horsey, and at the end of the day, this is a Christian country, and this country is just, they've got nowhere else to go. And if all these people come in, and take over the culture, it's not going to be Britain anymore. It's not going to be Great Britain anymore, and we can't have that. And it's not a racist thing. I'm not a racist. You can't call me a racist. But at the end of the day, we have to fight for what it's a spiritual battle, though, guys. This is the thing. We have to come back to Christ. Christ is King, and we must come back to Christ, because at the end of the day, we are a Christian nation.
Keir Starmer have blocked, cancelled visas of multiple people, including my team, Ezra Levin and Avi Yemini. What do you think of that? That now Keir Starmer can use executive power to block entry of people he disagrees with?
Well, to me, I mean, it's sounds like a dictatorship to me. I mean, Ezra, we miss you. He's such a wonderful reporter, and Avi as well. They're both wonderful reporters, and they're telling the truth. They're reporting the truth. And the thing is, they don't want to hear the truth. And we need people like Ezra to come and to show the world that, we are a peace-loving, peaceful British people. We're not aggressive. We're not, far right. We're not Nazis at the end of the day. I'm not a Nazi. I'm just wanting free speech. I want to be able to speak how I want, and I want to be able to express myself the way I want to express myself.
Definitely not racist. And like I said, in the crowds, I've seen many, many different races, many, many different backgrounds. And this is what I'm trying to highlight. The Unite the Kingdom is not about a racial divide. Unite the Kingdom is not about divides at all. Hence the name Unite the Kingdom. Or some people have coined it Unite the West. Now, also in the crowd, we had a lot of Iranians. Now, as you know, the Iranians, when they protest, they do it properly, and I have a lot of respect for the Iranians. They've had 46 years of the Ayatollah rule. And when they went out and protested, they knew that they could quite easily lose their lives, and they still went and did it. That is dedication. That is power. That really is. And it's also a sign that you've just taken that much. You are prepared to risk your life to make things better. Now, at the moment, we're not at that stage yet, but we're getting there. My argument is we can try and fix this now any way we can, or we can leave it 46 years down the line and leave ourselves in the headspace that the Iranians were. You must be really, really sick and tired and had enough at that point. Right now, like I said, we're not there, but we need to stand, otherwise we will be very, very soon. You can have Keir Starmer and Sadiq Khan coming out with their lies. So the United Kingdom was not racist. It was not violent. They were not thugs. They were not racist. So this is slander. Not to mention the people he blocked from coming in my eyes, illegally. And why the establishment at large have not called this out is a telltale sign of who they align with, who really runs this country. And it's not your government. It's not even Parliament. Parliament and your government, the same as your monarchy. They are bought and paid for. Simple as that. And I'm going to keep reiterating that they are bought and paid for. In other news, we have Alex Phillips of Talk TV, who pretty much chastised Rupert Law because Rupert Law is going to run a candidate in the Makerfield by-election to stump Andy Burnham and to keep him out of Commons. Alex Phillips is a character that once over before Restore Britain become a political party. And I mean right before, because when Restore Britain become a political party, Alex Phillips' mask, it slipped. And we all seen who she was. Now, she's very argumentative and in your face on Talk TV. And for a time, I like that. It's like, this woman is taking no crap. She's saying how it is. And then when Restore Britain become a political movement, Alex Phillips really showed who she was. Now, she goes off on Rupert Law. And do you know what? I'm not going to say she's wrong. It might split the vote. And it may give Andy Burnham a win. You know, I'm not going to deny that. This is politics. If Rupert Law didn't run, and then you've got loads of people in there who didn't want reform, Andy Burnham is still going to win. At least this way, you give the people a choice. Because what people don't understand about Rupert Law, and I'm sick of like this fella here, I can't remember his name, who called Restore Britain a non-entity. And we had that. We had Nigel Farage coming out saying they will get no votes, they'll get no seats or anything like that, even in Great Yarmouth. And we whitewashed it. We took everything in Great Yarmouth. You know, so when these people call them non-entities, just like Labour are afraid of reform, just like Labour are afraid of the people, Reform are afraid of Restore Britain. Because Restore Britain, I don't know if you recall the United Kingdom march on Saturday. There was a call for which party do you want? And what were the crowd shouting? Now, this was over 100,000 people, in my estimate, all shouted in pretty much in unison. The loudest voice out there was shouting, Restore Britain. Now, you can give me the rhetoric that there's only the fringe few online people know who Rupert Law and Restore Britain is. But I would argue that that is a lie. That is a blatant lie. The average man on the streets knows who Restore Britain is. The amount of times I've seen, like, who you voting for? Who do you want to see in power? Everyone seems to say Restore Britain. As for calling them a non-entity, you're just showing how fearful you are. And Alex Phillips, he used to have respect from me, but now she's just simply someone who slept away to success. You can go back in time and look at the history with Alex Phillips and Nigel Farage. And I'm not saying it's fact, but in my opinion, she slept away to success. And now she's become deranged.
I'm like, talking about moronic, dear Rupert Lowe, you ain't going to win that seat. It's lose-lose. You either going to do really badly and look pointless, or if you do really well, it will potentially allow Labour to win the seat, and that looks ridiculous. This is lose-lose. Moronic choice. Politically moronic.
It's not politically moronic from where they're standing, from where Restore Britain are standing, because right now they are effectively a non-entity except in the Great Yarmouth area. But their long-term ambition, excuse me, is to supplant reform. If you want to supplant reform, you need to run a guerrilla insurgency, and you need to have the longevity to last 10, 15 years. This is the thing. Because they know they're not going to win this. They know they're probably not even going to get 1,000 votes. But they might not need 1,000 votes. If all they need is, say, 200 to 300 votes away from reform to keep reform out, and if that keeps on chipping away at reform's credibility, the idea that reform actually can win these seats, that right now is all that Restore Britain needs to do. It is not interested in taking on the Labour Party or the Tories or anybody else. Its enemy, because it is to the right of reform, is to take on reform. That's who it's chipping away. So from their perspective, which is not about winning the country right now, it's just about beating reform. You can see actually why they would do this.
No, exactly. No, I get that.
No, I understand your frustration. I understand your frustration because I bet you would be prepared to vote tactically to get a right-wing government. You'd be prepared to vote for whichever right-wing party was. If it was going to be, say, a hung parliament, you'd be prepared. And if there was no chance of reform winning in your constituency, but there was a chance of a Tory getting in, you're not going to vote Labour. You're not going to. You'd probably, if you had to vote Tory. But the point here is that's about a grander vision for the country, which is a right-wing government. But Restore are not interested in that. They just want to beat reform.
They're not interested in. Then exactly, it's a vanity project. They're not interested.
I've got to tell you, the levels of co-op with reform. And here's the thing I'm going to say. Reform voters, I don't know what's wrong with you. You are becoming like the left-wing voters. You have this single mindset. Now, I will admit that reform used to speak for me. When they first come onto the scene and started gaining traction, it's because they were telling me they were going to do everything that I wanted them to do. The moment they got that traction, then they started recoiling on that. They started bringing it back, walking it back, and we can't do this, we can't do that. We need diversity. Then you look at who they run in the local elections, and reform becomes pretty clear. Now, I'm going to push back on this vanity project, and all they want to do is chip away at reform. That's not the case. That's not the case at all. Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain want to be in government. They want to get Labour out. They want to be a sitting government. They want to fix this country. That is not vanity. That is desperation. That is need. They don't care about beating reform. The only people who care about Restore Britain beating reform is reform. Reform's got a problem right now. I've said many, many times, even after they've walked back the immigration stance and everything else they were going to do, they seem to be stepping back. Now, prior to that, I always said that reform, for me, would be a desperation vote. And if a general election was called tomorrow, I would have to vote for them. But then I'm starting to question, and I think I've said this before, I'm starting to question if that was the case, I don't know if I would risk voting reform. I think I may risk voting Conservatives. As much as that pains me, that's how little faith I have in reform anymore. Now, I hope I'm wrong. There is a lot of talk around the internet about reform becoming the Uniparty. And you can see it. It is blatantly obvious. Do you want another wolf in sheep's clothing in Parliament? In the House of Commons? Same as now, we have this whole leadership race within the Labour Party. And Keir Starmer is, like I said, he's a skid mark. He's a non-entity himself, Keir Starmer. Literally the most hated man in the country. And he's not very well liked around the world, if I'm honest. But that's what we have. We have a Uniparty. We have Labour infighting. And you know, at this point, it doesn't matter to me whether Keir Starmer goes. It doesn't matter to me whether Andy Burnham comes in, whether Wes Streeton comes in, whether, God forbid, Ed Miliband comes in, or tax dodging Angela Rayner. It doesn't bother me because that's not what I want. You know, I don't want them in. People ask me, with the Labour Party, what preference would you have? Who would you think will do the least damage? None of them. None of them's going to do the least damage. No matter who gets in, no matter their political leanings, if they are more to the left or more to the right or more to the centre, they've still got the same orders to carry out. This is the problem. They're still carrying out the same orders. So it doesn't matter what they have in their mindset. Like Keir Starmer, they will be told what to do, and they will do it. So I don't care who takes over from Keir Starmer. The only thing I don't want is someone taking over from Keir Starmer. I want Labour out. Pure and simple. That's literally what I want. I want Labour out. I want a general election called. And like I said, if Reform were to get in, then they have to get in. We'd still have an election called in 2029. If Reform get in, after a general election. Come 2029, we're going to have an election. Reform, if they don't do their job, Restore's got it like that. And you know they have, because I said before that if Reform get in, no matter what party gets in, if you do not change what is happening in this country, if you do not get a handle on the economy, on energy, on immigration, and at the moment, the EU problem, if you do not get a handle on these things, in my eyes, these are non-negotiables. If you do not get a handle on these, you make little to no difference, or you make it worse. This country is going to explode. And like I said before, do you want to be the party that's in power when that happens? Because despite what you think, despite what they would have you think, the people on the right, not the mythical far right, I mean the right, those who, some would be centrists, some would be right-leaning, but because we are right of the far left government, we are now deemed as far right, but we're not. We're a mix of centrists and right-wingers. That's it. Now, they would have you believe that we're in the minority. But I want you to notice, I want you to focus. When you look, you've just got to use a bit of common sense. You look at what's on YouTube, you look at what's on X, and you ratio it. You look at the likes, you look at the shares, the amount of engagement a post gets, the likes, the shares, the amounts of likes a video gets, the amount of subscribers, the amount of viewers. I would say with YouTube, you can balance up the likes and dislikes, but you cannot. Because in their infinite wisdom, you no longer get to see the dislikes on YouTube. And do you know why that is? During COVID, we had this whole woke push, this whole woke ideology with their transgenderism and everything along with that, as well as COVID. Videos were getting ratioed to hell. They were putting official videos out. They will get thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of views, and in some cases, millions of dislikes to a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand likes. That's why they did away with the dislike count. So when you look at it, you have right-wing opinions on there, and they get a lot of engagement, a lot, between sites like X and YouTube. I say X and YouTube because they're the only social media I use. I do not use Instagram. I do not use Facebook. I do not use Threads or Blue Sky. I'm not a paedophile, so I've got no need to be on Blue Sky. But when you see the amount of engagement, the amount of likes, you will see right-wing posts get a lot more traction and a lot more love than you will a left. When it comes to days like Unite the Kingdom, even though we had a low turnout, we were still 3 times more, if not more, than the lefties. That's the same story over and over again. The only reason some people on the centre or the right may feel they're in the minority is because that is the rhetoric you're being told. All I'm saying is look with your eyes. You look at the facts. It is the left wing that is in the minority. They are the minority. The right-wingers and the centrists are the majority. The people who call this out, there is more people calling it out than those people who want communism, who wants the government's way. But that doesn't feed into their narrative, which is why you see biased policing, you see biased reporting in mainstream media. This is because they ignore the bad they do. They ignore the bad that the left and the immigrants do, and will rush to condemn any right-wing person caught for any reason. You know, you can look in the news, and when I say look in the news, look on X, you will see countless videos per day of immigrants and ethnic minorities harming people, stabbing people, raping people. You won't see that on mainstream media. But let's say Mr. David Wright was a little bit late for work one morning and got caught speeding 8 miles over the speed limit, then you can guarantee the mainstream media will bend over backwards to make sure they report that. And not only report that, they will tell you his name, his address, his birthday, everything personal to him, even when he last had a bowel movement. That's how biased the mainstream media is. And even worse, all these rapists and attackers, what you see on X, the police don't touch. But poor David Wright, who was late for work and went 8 miles over the speed limit, there's about 50 coppers surrounding his car, probably his armed police officers ready to drag him out. and take them down the police station. That's how bad this country is. And that's what we need to stop. And we need to take it back. And you know what? Whether you are Restore, whether you're Reform, whether you're Conservatives, it doesn't matter. But what I will say about Restore Britain is what everyone seems to gloss over. Restore Britain has broken records. When they first set up as a political party, they broke records to the amount of members, the movement itself. But not only that, whether it's Restore Britain, giving a voice to those who wouldn't normally vote, but we have a lot more people turning out to vote who wouldn't normally vote. It is bringing in more votership. Because now we have people who have maybe never voted for the past 20, 30 years, or maybe even never voted in their life, who look at this country and look at what's on offer from the parties. They've seen Rupert Lowe and they've said, you know what? That seems like what we want. And this year we will vote. Even Reform in its heydays when it was saying what everyone wanted to hear. Like I said, with this by-election, they are afraid. Like Keir Starmer is afraid. Like Sadiq Khan is afraid. Reform UK are scared shitless of Restore Britain. Because Restore Britain are what Reform should have been. Restore Britain are what Reform shied away from. Anyway, guys, on that, I will catch you in the next video and have a good one. Stay safe and try and stay happy.